Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all very well tonight. So let's see who's on the stream tonight. Whoa, what's happening here? Oops. Okay, I was having some problems with my mouse. So we have Killer. Great to have you on, Killer. Hope you're well. Thanks for moderating once again. My chat seems smaller than usual. I'm not sure why that's the case. We have Archibald, great to see you. Hope you're well. We have Chris Town, great to see you. Hope you're well. Jean Wales too, great to see both of you. Anonymous, great to have you on. Hope you're well. John O'Sullivan, great to see you, John. We have Lenan, great to have you on again. Hope you're well. Good evening, ignore the unicorns. We have Enzo the God, great to see you, Enzo. Hope you're well too. CGM, great to see you. Hope you're well. Thanks for moderating again. Dano, great to see you, Dano. We have, let me see, QA Library, hope you're well. Do you want me to phone a few friends? I used to work in Stormont. Yes, definitely. I would love to speak to some people who have their ear to the ground in Northern Ireland. That'd be great to find out what's happening. What's happening behind the scenes, because we're hearing a lot from the politicians and not from civil servants. So I'd be really interested to hear what they think, and if there's anything they can contradict. Valerio, thank you so much for that super chat. Let me jump down to Valerio's super chat. Hi Max, do you think the SNP will have many problems? I actually think the performance of Nicola Sturgeon on, what was it, today is Friday, when was it, Wednesday, Tuesday? It was the same day as the budget, so it was Wednesday, yes. I think her performance was amazing, unbelievable. I do a 2-hour live stream and after that I'm destroyed. But she was interrogated for 8 hours. 8 bloody hours, and she came out of it without a scratch. How long would Boris withstand that type of grilling? I think he'd last about 8 minutes and then he'd just fold. So I actually think, when I was thinking about how, before she went in, I was trying to understand how it would work out, and I was thinking it could go in two directions. Either she'd make an absolute arse of herself and this would damage the SNP, or if she could hold it together, maintain her resolve and come out of it in a professional way, this would help her and the party. And I think she's come out of it pretty good. She was able to direct the investigation into, we did something to defend these two people who had been, we did something on behalf of these two people who were they had these issues. I have to be careful what I say, actually, but had these issues with a former leader, and we did the right thing. We were trying to do the right thing, and in this way, I think she came out of it much better than Alex Salmond. I think she came out of it much better than people thought she would. And I think there was something like 5,000 people who signed up for the SNP. So it increased its membership by 5,000 people. So that was, I think, the people in Scotland who viewed that, I think she came away pretty well. Let's just go back to your comments, just to say hello to as many people as. Well, we're up to 309 people. Make sure to smash that like button, of course. We have James S. Great to see you, James. Geraldine Doyle, great to see you. I'll have to go down very quickly because there's so many people on the stream tonight. Tiny Demolition Lover, hope you're well. Greetings to you in Scotland. We have Inconsequential, great to see you. I'll just have to go very quickly. Hedgehog Legs, great to see you, hope you're well. Aoife D, great to see you. Arto, great to see you. Joseph, some names will pop out. Reagan Elite, great to see you. Tom, great to have you on. Ministerian, great to see you. Who else have we got? Kendra, hope you're well. All Shorts, great to see you on the stream. Big fan of your work. We have Child of the Universe, great to see you. Conservator, once again. Great to have you on. Raven, great to see you. And so many people. I'm sorry I can't say hello to everyone, but I want to say hello to as many as possible. So thanks for that super chat, Valerio. We have another super chat from James S. What do you think of Amazon's brilliant books? Oh my god. So if you don't know, Amazon has been, well, one of the best sellers at the moment on Amazon is an anti-vaccine book. So it's an anti-vaxxer book. And there's pressure on Amazon to stop the sale of this book. So hopefully, I haven't bought it, James. I'm not planning on buying it. So I'm not going to give them money. So I hope Amazon come down hard and stop the sale of that book, because we don't need more misinformation. We have enough misinformation on the internet. We don't need more. Dano, thank you so much for that super chat. Welcome to the stream, Dano. Mark Sanders, I see as well. Great to see you. Thanks very much for that donation, Dano. Okay, I'm down at the bottom now. Sugar Free, great to see you, Sugar Free. James Kerr Lindsay, I have to do a live stream with James. As soon as I have some other things offline sorted out. It should be from next week and the week after. I should be able to dedicate more time to the channel on Discord and live stream. So I want to have some guests on maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, because it's interesting to hear some professional voices, because I'm not a professional. Just noticed that you passed 55k. Thanks for that comment, Wiscott's Dog. Yes, I did. Very, very good. The channel it's going up slowly but surely. 10,000 new SNP members. Wow, now Max. Wow, that's amazing, Killer. That's great news for the SNP. So I think the Scots' general opinion of her performance, I think, is pretty good. Great. Let's catch up soon, Max. Yes, please do. And apologies, I haven't gone back to you since then, because there's so much on my plate offline that I'm trying to get it all sorted out. But I will do it, and I think it'd be very interesting for people to hear what you have to say about what's happening in Europe and specific countries in particular. Kieran Fox, great to see you. Hope you're well. We have Reagan Elite says, yeah, Amazon only care about money. Yes, unfortunately. And they're making the amount of money Amazon has made this year, or even last year I should say, since the pandemic, is just astronomical. It's made Jeff Bezos the richest man in the world again. I think he was competing with Elon Musk for a bit, but now he's Elon Musk is had a bit of a bad day today. Tesla stock dropped a great deal. I'd like in the future to buy a Tesla if I had the money. If I had the money, I'd like to buy a Tesla. But the thing is, I heard some horror stories that if the car breaks down, you can't find a mechanic to fix it. You need to get somebody out from the Tesla place, and it costs like €1,000 or $1,000 for them just to come out and fix it. You can't just take it to your normal mechanic. So that would put me off from buying a Tesla if I ever could do that. Best to stick with a regular car. But if there's anyone on the stream who has a Tesla, let me know. Yorkshire Devolution. Yes, I posted on Twitter that Andy King in the North should become the new leader of an independent North. Maybe king or president, I don't know. Worse than Apple then. Don't start a war, Killer. Elon Musk is a complete fraud. Yes, he's not a very nice individual. Says very stupid things on Twitter. Worse than me. Did the Amazon workers in the States vote to join a union yet? I think they're trying to join a union. But at the moment, it's the company isn't allowing it. It'd be interesting to see how Joe Biden operates over the next number of years. Artemis, great to see you on the stream. You're back on Twitter. Yes, I am. My link is in most of the videos. If you go to the video, any of the videos now up online, there'll be a link to my Twitter account, so you can find me there. So let's jump into the content of the stream tonight. This is, my God. I hadn't planned to talk about this, but because it blew up as a story in the last 24 hours, so I have to talk about it. What's your Twitter handle? It's the same. Guys, if you want to follow me on Twitter, you'll find the link in any of the videos. Any of the videos that have been uploaded in the last number of months, you'll find a link to my Twitter account. So do follow me. I'll try and follow you back as well. He hasn't been banned yet. No, not yet. I'm keeping my nose clean. So I want to show you this tweet from Dave. It says here, reasons the government can't give the nurses a proper pay rise. £37 billion for failed track and trace system. £9.5 billion estimated cost of Brexit. £340,000 payout to Priti Patel bullying, £100,000 Carrie Simmons decorating bill, and £40,000 pay rise for Dominic Cummings. This is just disgusting. The fact that the NHS staff have been working their arses off, putting their lives on the line. Many have given the ultimate sacrifice. And the response from the government is, yeah, we might give you 1%. How can they, turn around and do that? I'm not even angry. It's disgust. But I have a video up dropping tomorrow about this. But it's the fact that Boris Johnson went into hospital. He was treated by NHS staff. He was at death's door. And he came out, saved by these people, saved by the NHS staff. No DLC, great to see you on the stream. Don't forget the 16 million for a batch of three-word slogans from an advertising company, yes. Elon Musk has 14 rules for his wife. Oh my God. Then don't be his wife. That would be the best thing to do. Don't marry Elon Musk. James, thanks for that super chat. Proposed NHS pay rise is an absolute disgrace. Yes, 1%. Maybe they should go on strike. Maybe they should say, actually, we're not going to accept this. We're going to go on strike. I think the public would support them. I think the public would say, yes, clapping for the NHS is not going to help them. Clapping doesn't pay the bills. Clapping doesn't pay your mortgage or doesn't pay your rent or put food on the table. This whole clapping thing at the beginning, I was extremely cynical about it. And I thought at the time, maybe I'm being too cynical. Maybe it's a good gesture to rally the public around the NHS. Well, now the NHS need the public. They don't need claps. They need the public to support them, because they're going to go toe to toe with the government to get this pay rise. Like, why? How can it be possible? Matt Hancock was saying, we're going to fight for this pay rise. We're going to fight for the NHS to make sure they get the money they deserve. Fight? Fight who? You are the one responsible. You're the one who decides how much money they get. Was it fight with the Treasury? You can allocate resources to this. You can allocate... Matt Hancock has no problem handing over millions and billions of pounds of contracts to his friends and donors. And now he has to fight to get money for the NHS staff. Helder, thank you so much for that super chat. Jihad Johnson thinks claps pay the bills. it's exactly the same rhetoric that was coming from Boris Johnson when he went to Northern Ireland in regard to Brexit. And he said to business owners in Northern Ireland, if somebody asks you to fill out a form, you throw it in the bin. You tell them, they tell them to call me and I'll tell them to throw it in the bin or something like that. Was it if the medical staff, if NHS staff can't pay their rent or they can't pay their mortgage or they can't, put food on the table, who do they go to when they're in the supermarket and the bill exceeds the money they have in the bank account? Who do they just say, I'm sorry, well, Boris Johnson clapped for me, and the supermarket will say, oh, that's okay, you can go, you don't have to pay the difference. The claps will make up the difference. Or if they can't pay their bills and they're about to have their power cut off, will they just clap down the phone and the electricity company will say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize, you don't have to pay, the claps will make up the difference. When you have Boris Johnson crying about not being able to survive or struggle, I should say, on £150,000 a year. What politicians say and promise are about as acceptable as a fart in a closet. Yes. Get rid of capitalism. Wish they throw Rees Moggan in the bin. Weapons are more important than NHS staff. Yes, that's a valid point, Reagan, about when they were selling weapons. Yeah, we're going to continue to sell weapons to Saudi Arabia because it's money. The money isn't dirty. That'd be their response. So when is Boris going to introduce the bill to rebuild Hadrian's Wall? Oh, he's building that wall. Nurse did not have a 15% pay rise in 2018-2021. Nadine Dorris, yes, I actually did a response to her, was embarrassing on BBC Breakfast this morning, trying to defend the pay rise. The Tories make me sick. I really hope, if they can't get a pay rise, I really hope they do get a pay rise, and it's much more than bloody 1%. I think they deserve, it should be a case of the NHS staff say, the government say, how much do you want? And they say, we need 5%, 10%. And the government say, yeah, sure, here you go. You've bloody earned it. You deserve it. That's the way it should be. Not, we have to fight for 1%. We have to fight for 2%. We have to fight for 5%. This is not a normal situation. These people have put their life on the line. Yes, I understand that medical staff, our frontline staff, they put their lives on the line every day. But these were exceptional circumstances. But the fact, that the government is saying, we can't afford this, but we can afford £37 billion for track and trace. $9.5 billion for per year for the cost of Brexit. That's okay, and it's interesting that in the budget there was no mention of Brexit, no mention of the cost related to Brexit. It's not 1%; it's more like 0.2% because of inflation. That's Allshorts makes a very valid point. Yes, even if because inflation is above 1%, so even if they were given 1%, it would be less than that. Or inflation is about, was it 0.8%? But I think it's actually above 1%. 10% pay rise plus bonus. If inflation is 2%, is a 1% pay cut, yes. How many nurses does it take to redecorate number 10? What would William of Orange say? Actually, am I pronouncing it correct? I say William of Orange, not William of Orange, like orange the colour or orange the fruit. because I don't think I think it's orange, maybe, but I'm or orange in Dutch. UBI. No, we're gonna have to, keep a limit on the UBI chat tonight. Anyway, let's go. I want to show you this from Sky News this morning, where they talked a bit more about this pay cut, you could call it, not actually a pay rise of 1%.
Good morning. Bitterly disappointing, pitiful, a kick in the teeth. This is how union leaders have described a 1% pay rise being proposed by the government for NHS staff. The Department for Health and Social Care has defended the offer, saying it needed to strike the right balance between pay and staff numbers. But health leaders are accusing the government of being out of touch and called it an insult to those who have stepped up to tackle the coronavirus crisis, as our chief political correspondent John Craig reports.
Boris Johnson and...
Look at these two. I'm trying to limit my language here. These two individuals clapping for the NHS. Clap, yes, because we couldn't give a crap about them. When they actually need the money to survive, to live. No, we don't want to do that. We'll clap instead. And I remember at the time I was complaining about this. I said, look, this is very, Johnson and Rishi Sunak understand this. They know this. Well, we had a bit of a stream problem. Shishnak, thank you so much for that super chat. Wow, very kind of you. Sorry guys, I think there was a buffering problem. Not my fault. I think it was on YouTube side. I'm not sure what happened, but it seems to be okay now. Yes, back. It's okay now. Oof, sorry about that. Not sure what happened. Thanks very much for that super chat. I don't know if you heard me. Thanks very much. Very kind of you. Buffering, no. Good now. Okay. So as I don't know if I got cut off, but what I was saying was, giving, when inflation is 1.7% and your pay rise is 1%, you're losing money. If they had said we're going to give you 2.7% to get you over inflation, it'd still be a kick in the teeth, but it'd be a little bit less of a kick in the teeth. Helen, thank you so much for that super chat. Didn't like what you were talking about, Max. Mark Sanders, thank you so much. The man from Del Monte, he says orange. I actually thought that show was quite that advertisement was a little bit racist. This white guy coming to Africa and the people in Africa or the Caribbean or wherever, and they were extremely nervous of his opinion. I don't know. At the time, it sort of was cute, maybe, or it was I don't know. But now it seems a bit sort of uncomfortable. The anger with NHS saved Boris's life to use them. He used it, and I said this at the time. I was hoping that Boris Johnson would come through and have some sort of road to Damascus conversion. That he would say, "Wow, the NHS has saved my life. Now it's my turn to protect it. I'm going to make sure that these staff are protected, that they are well off, because they have come through." And what's the worst thing about all of this for me is that, and I talked about this before, refresh if it buffers. The worst thing about all of this is that the Tories are up in the polls. The NHS are doing the hard work. The NHS are rolling out the vaccine, and Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock are saying, look at what a success the government have achieved. Look at what we've done. People, the public, are looking at the success of the rollout of the vaccine and thinking it's Boris Johnson who's doing that. No, it's a success despite Boris Johnson. Because if Boris Johnson handed it over to his cronies, there probably wouldn't be any vaccines at all.
The offer, which Labour claims is a pay cut, could mean an increase of just £3.50 a week, extra take-home pay.
£3.50 a week. I actually, in the video I uploaded, I actually thought it was £6. But it's actually worse than that. It's £3.50 a week. You know, people on universal credit are getting a better uplift than the NHS. And I'm not trying to criticize anyone on universal credit. I think that's a disaster. It should be replaced. But people who are working for the NHS, their pay increase in Donald of Orange are getting £3.50. Like £350, I think Boris Johnson or Rishi Sunak wouldn't understand. You know, they probably wiped their arses with £350. Never mind £3.50. Wasn't it Boris Johnson who was burning £50 notes in front of homeless people when he was a few years younger?
For experienced nurses, such as those at this West London hospital.
It is a bit of a slap in the face. I mean, like, all we've had this year is claps and not really. We were struggling with PPE at the beginning, but it doesn't really feel.
Her response is a lot better than mine, and she's actually suffering because of this. They were suffering because they didn't have access to the right PPE. They were using bin liners in order to protect themselves because Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock hadn't prepared correctly for the pandemic. And then when it was time to actually supply with them with PPE, they said, we have everything. And then they realized, no, we don't have everything. Let's get some stuff in, but not actually. Let's give the contracts to the people who produce PPE or who can import it. No, let's give it to people who are friends of ours or who have donated to the party or who are connected in some way to the party. Can we increase the salary of increase the wages of the NHS staff? No, we will clap instead.
Like, it's enough.
Well, I'm not really happy about it, considering what has happened with the COVID. All of us are just feeling burnt out, and I feel like 1% isn't really enough.
There's
This is, and I don't mean it, both people interviewed here are not native English, not native Britain. Is there a fact that because I don't know if this is true, I don't know the percentage of immigrants who work in the NHS, but is this an attempt to punish these people, or is everyone in the NHS being punished?
All we've had this year is claps and not really. We were struggling with PPE at the beginning, but it doesn't really feel like it's enough.
Well, I'm not really happy about it, considering what has happened with the COVID. All of us are just feeling burnt out, and I feel like 1% isn't really enough.
There's anger too among nurses in the north of England.
I'm disgusted and outraged. And it's not only about this year and how hard people have worked and how people have stepped up and kind of risen to the challenge of this, unprecedented year that we've never seen. It's not even about that. It's about the disrespect from the government of not recognising the skills that we have as a workforce.
And sorry, but you had stupid cunts like Desmond Swain who were standing up in Parliament going, there is no pandemic and we should just get everyone back to work as soon as quick as possible and all of this stupid crap. When these people were putting their lives on the line, and then the respect they get is, we're going to pay you less than inflation. We're going to give you a bonus less than inflation. And yet stupid pricks like, what's his name, Desmond Swain, or I forget the other guy's name, standing up in Parliament saying, well, we need to get people back into work. We need to get the economy moving. Yes, and they was putting extra stress, extra strain on the NHS. They didn't care about them. They never cared about them. It was always about protecting the party. Sorry, guys. Sorry, you're swearing. This really pisses me off. You have people, and I always hold up the NHS as the model for the world. Here in Italy, we have a different system. It's not as good as the NHS. When I lived in Ireland, we have a system nowhere near as good as the NHS. And I see it being sold off by these bastards in government, by the likes of Matt Hancock and Boris Johnson, sold off to corrupt American companies who want to just come in and hoover up whatever cash there is. Turn it into a system where, you know, people, if they get sick, they'll go into debt in order to get their treatment. And then you have other situations where the government just don't care, because they know that if they get sick, they have the money to pay for that treatment. Richard, thanks for that super chat. I think that the NHS should stop paying the car park. Oh my God, this really pissed me off as well. Thanks for that super chat. But I remember at the time I did a video on it, and I think I had lost my mind as well on it, because I'd lost control. You have NHS staff working on the front line, protecting people, saving lives, and they have to pay for frigging parking. Then the response from Matt Hancock was, we've suspended this during the pandemic. What? Why do they have to pay parking? If I go to the frigging supermarket, I don't have to pay parking. If I go to the church, I don't have to pay parking. But these staff who are going in, saving people's lives on a daily basis, putting themselves at risk, have to pay their friggin' parking. How is that acceptable? I would love for somebody to explain to me why it's acceptable for the NHS staff to pay for parking. If you go to your normal workplace, most people who go to their workplace, they don't have to pay for parking. If you go to an office, you're not, I have to, sorry boss, I didn't have change for the machine, that's why I'm late at my desk. Has anyone ever seen that? Of course, if you're parking on the street, that's one thing. But if your company has parking spaces, why is it free for company staff to park in their freaking parking space? But if you work for the NHS, you have to pay for parking. Also, I'm completely against the idea of paying for parking when you go to the hospital, because it's part of the system. We're paying for the healthcare system. Shouldn't the parking be included in that? I'm less angry about it for patients, but for staff, who can justify? It's for environmental reasons. Sure, it'll save the planet. I'm not sure what that's about. The car parks are run by external companies and rip off people. There we go. Thanks for that comment, Declan. That's the reason. Max, I have to pay £54 per month. That's a rise after the car park was privatised. Helder. Why? Why is it given out to a private company? I remember when I was a kid and you go to the hospital, I don't remember paying for parking. You just parked your car and you went in and visited someone who was in hospital. There was never a need to pay for. I understand that what's happened is these are things that have been privatized. Our health services have been cut because we don't want to spend money on people. We want to spend it on infrastructure. We want to spend it on businesses, or we want to spend it on something that is not related to people. As I've said before, when it comes to people, it's a cost. When it comes to something else, it's an investment. People are never considered an investment. So, of course, the health service is cut. The hospitals and the trusts need to recover some of the money. So what do? They hand over parking, for example, to private companies who take a cut. Of course, the private companies charge more money. But £34 a month? It's ridiculous. Once again, if you go to the friggin' supermarket, you don't pay for parking. I know some places you may do, but generally you don't pay for parking. If you work in an office and you go to the office car park, you don't pay for parking there. If your company turned around and said, we're going to charge you for parking, people would rebel. People would say, what? This is ridiculous. People wouldn't stand for it. Blair's policy, Max. It's one of these things that are so normal that we forget to be angry about it. There's no justification for this. If it's necessary if it's expensive to have parking, we need to pay staff, then we'll pay extra in taxes for that. But it's not right that NHS staff have to pay for bloody parking. Who can justify that? All roads and public buildings paid by public. Thanks for that super chat, James. Yes, it should be. We're paying our taxes. That's what they should be there for, to cover the cost of the staff working there. Sorry, but I get a bit sidetracked, but these things really piss me off. Let me try. When I go on a rant, I sometimes don't look at the screen, and I hope I didn't miss anyone's super chat or comment. Okay. Please tell me if mods tell me if I missed someone, but I think I got James as well. Anyway, let's continue.
Defending the offer, a government spokesman told Sky News over 1 million NHS staff continue to benefit from multi-year pay deals agreed with trade unions, which have delivered a pay rise of over 12% for newly qualified nurses, and will increase junior doctors' pay scales by 8.2%.
But Artemis, thanks to Artemis in the chat, Artemis has confirmed that this is not true.
The independent pay review bodies will report in late spring, and we'll consider their recommendations carefully when we receive them. Labour has accused the Chancellor of failing to mention NHS pay in the budget.
Of course, there was no mention of NHS pay in the budget. It was all talking about free ports. Yeah, free ports. We're going to have money laundering factories. That's what we're going to have. That's the way we're going to return to prosperity. Money laundering. Yeah, sites where people, donors to the party who don't want to pay tax, you can park your money in here. It will be cleaned and it'll be handed back to you in the morning. Is that Jeff Taylor? A land fit for heroes. NHS night staff get free, but I'd like to see it explained. Yeah. I don't know the ins and outs, but I would like for someone to explain why. It does sound like Jeff. I'd like for someone to explain why NHS staff have to pay for parking. Now, if they say, well, we need to recoup the cost of parking, okay, but that's for patients or people visiting. I don't agree with that, but if that's the justification, that's somewhat acceptable. But why NHS staff? What is the justification in charging them for parking? They're there to work. They're not there to piss about or visit someone or to enjoy the food in the canteen. They're there to work. I can't think of any other job where you have to pay for your parking on the site. Can anyone think of any other job where you have to pay for the parking when you're on that site? If you work in an office and your company has a car park, you don't have to pay for parking. Why is it the case in the NHS? And it's not just, I don't know the situation in hospitals in other countries. In Italy, I don't think they have to pay for parking. Actually, many of the car parks here in Italy connected to the hospitals, there is no parking fee. You just, first come, first served. That's it.
And sneaking out the offer the following day.
Shocking. It's a kick in the teeth to our hard-working, brave NHS staff. They've been on the front line in this crisis. Hundreds have lost their lives.
Look, I really wish, and I know they have to remain calm, and I would say, these bastards, they're frigging bastards, they're effing bastards. That's what they are. That's what the Tories are. Scum, 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 scum. And if they're upset about being called scum, then come and explain why you're upset for being called scum. That's what they are, scum. If I was the shadow minister, I'd say these people are scum. Now, if they have a problem with it, come to me and explain how they're not scum. But Max, remember, billionaires work harder than NHS staff, therefore the rich deserve more comfort and listening time from the government. Just a sarcasm. Thanks for that, Ministerian. Sorry, guys, I hope nobody's listening with earphones, because I'm probably, your blood probably running down your ears. But this is, they make scum look good, yes. I'm sorry, they are scum. They have moved from saying we care about the NHS to clapping for the NHS, which doesn't pay bills or anything, to now saying, I'm sorry, we don't have any money. Money's gone. But we'll give you maybe less than inflation increase. How about that? I hope the public are listening to this, and I hope the public are angry. Because if the public are not angry, then sorry guys, we're down shit creek without a bloody paddle. I've seen polls showing Boris Johnson and the Tories are up. Glasgow Kiss, thanks for that super chat. Only in England, parking is free in Scotland, except 3 hospitals. Waiting on the contracts running out for those. Hi, by the way. Great to have you on the stream. I hope you're well. Thanks for that super chat. In Scotland, it's not as bad as England. Parking should be free. Thanks for that once again. Hope you're well. The parking must be free. I really don't understand how it can't be free. Can you clarify your question? I'm not sure who you're referring to. I'm not sure if that's for me. Clap for Max. No, don't clap for Max. I don't deserve a clap. No, a clap will not sort this out. I understand you're being sarcastic, but I really wish they'd be a bit more angry. I would come. If I was a minister or shadow secretary, I'd say these people are scum. Really, these people are friggin' scum. If they have a problem with that, come and explain to me how you're not scum. You've thrown the NHS staff under a bus here. You've thrown them under a bus during this pandemic. You didn't give them the right PPE. You told them that there was enough PPE when there was not enough PPE. Many of them died because they didn't have correct PPE. And then recently, Matt Hancock lied about the reason why there wasn't. No, what was it he said? First of all, he said there wasn't what was it? I'm trying to remember because it's so back and forth all the time. We had PPE, then we didn't have PPE, and I was searching for PPE. That's why I didn't fill out the documentation correctly or in time, because we were spending all our time looking for PPE, even though there wasn't a shortage. So there was a shortage or there wasn't a shortage. Which was it? But it doesn't make any difference because you can lie in Parliament anyway and you will not be held accountable. But don't wear a tie and then all hell breaks loose. Boris Johnson lying in Parliament. Matt Hancock lying in Parliament. Rishi Sunak lying in Parliament. But one MP forgot to put on his frigging tie. And I'm sorry, we have to stop everything. Go and put on your tie, and then we're going to listen to what you have to say.
And for Rishi Sunak to offer just a 1% pay rise, which could be a pay cut if the estimates for inflation come true, is a disgrace.
Nurses leaders point out that more than 900 frontline NHS staff have died as a result of coronavirus during the pandemic. And while the government says 1% is not a done deal, it's already facing a fierce backlash.
What would Sir Major Tom Moore think about this if he was still around? Unfortunately, he has passed on. What would Tom think about this? I think Tom would not be happy. He raised money for the NHS. How would he think of the way the staff are being treated today? I think he would be pretty bloody upset. Ira, thanks for that super chat. Welcome to the stream. Evening, Max. Many in NHS are hardworking people. Yes. They're doing an essential service. And I think it's important to remember the work that they do, even outside the pandemic. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because my sister in Ireland is a paramedic. And she's, and she told me how stressful it can be. But these people are on the front line. They're saving lives. The fact that some of them had to try and do their job without correct PPE. Most of us, if we knew that there wasn't proper protection in a place, we wouldn't go in. We had that choice. You don't send soldiers into war without proper weapons, without proper weaponry, or without proper armor or whatever. You don't do that. We wouldn't expect them to go to war without the proper equipment. But we expected the NHS staff to fight this pandemic without the proper equipment. And when they asked for the proper equipment, they were told, it's in the post. Or, we have it. It's already here. Just if we double count everything. A pair of gloves was counted as 2 pieces of PPE. James, thanks for that super chat. What would they do if they didn't get their didn't get taxed for NHS? What would the government do if they? Well, I think they would see about privatizing it if they didn't get the tax. But that's already happening. They're trying to reduce the size of the NHS all the time, selling it off bit by bit. Recently there was a sale of, probably we didn't hear how much was received, but an American company got access to 375,000 patients. That GP services. How is that not privatization? Someone in the comments section said, this is not privatization. Okay. A private American company has access to GP services. That's not privatization in your eyes? Michelle, thank you so much for that super chat. I can't go through another term of Tories. I pray Scotland gets independence soon. I hope the people, even Tories and Unionists in Scotland, are looking at this and saying, we don't want to be part of this. I think if you were to ask Tory supporters, not the MPs or the members of the Scottish Parliament, but if you were to ask ordinary people, do you think this is correct? I'm pretty sure they would say no. I hope they would say no. I hope they would say no. We should be paying the NHS staff, be it in England, Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland, the money they deserve. Thanks for that super chat, Michelle. Hedgehog Legs, thank you so much for that. Very kind of you. I love your little icon. I'm a big fan of hedgehogs. I love hedgehogs. Buffering again. Oh no. I think YouTube is trying to bring me down. GT refresh. No, I think for some people it's buffering, maybe not for everyone. If it's not for everyone, then it's not my fault. Not my fault. Anyway, let's continue.
John Craig, Sky News.
Well, the Health Minister, Nadine Dorries, joined.
This... Okay, I want to show you this. I actually there was another interview with her where this... Okay, I have to show you this.
Joins me now. Good morning to you. After everything doctors and nurses have done for us over the last year, the sacrifices they've made, is a 1% pay increase enough?
Well, of course, we recognise the sacrifice and the commitment and the vocation.
We recognise. No, you don't. If you recognised it, you'd say, yes, 1% is not enough. We need to pay them more. We need to pay them 5%. We need to pay them 10%. We need to have a proper understanding of what they have given over the last year. You know, we don't have to pay them 100% or anything like that, but we have to give them something that's equivalent to the work that they've done over the last year. It could be this year is going to be a special year. We're going to give them an extra bonus because of this, because of the year we've passed. Now we're getting closer to the end of the pandemic. Next year, maybe it will return to some sort of normal level. But this year, out of goodwill, a gesture of goodwill, we're going to give the NHS staff a massive bonus. Why don't we do that, or give them the pay increase that they would, somewhere between what we want to give them and where they want to be. Wow, so thank you so much for the super chat. Cooler King, thank you so much. Cooler King, very cooler. He's a cooler king. Thank you so much for that. Johan, thank you so much for that. If they go on strike, the government saves money. Not sure what you mean by that. If they go on strike, they'll save money. I think they have to take some sort of industrial action. Otherwise, they're not going to get anything. Because if they roll over and say, okay, we'll just accept this 1%, that's it. And they'll go back into work and many will die because they don't have access to correct PPE or because they get infected by the virus. And nothing will change. And the Tories will claim victory, saying, see, they accepted the 1%, that means they're happy with the 1%. And nothing will change.
Of nurses and all health workers over the past year, we've all been touched by or personally experienced by help from NHS workers. But I think it's important to note that the priority of the government has been about protecting people's livelihoods, about continuing the furlough scheme, about fighting the pandemic. And we've put huge effort into that. And we did not want nurses to go unrecognised, or doctors, and no other public sector employee is receiving a pay rise. There has been a pay freeze.
She as a minister and an MP together is probably earning about £160,000 a year. Do you think the people at the beginning of this video, the two, I think they're from Asia, two Asian nurses, maybe Asian medical staff, and the nurse from the north of England, do you think those people are on £160,000 a year? Do you think they can say, well, it's there's inflation and the government have spent a lot of money over the pandemic, so there's nothing we can do. We should be happy with what we have. She's sitting on £160,000 a year. How she can sit there and say, we've put our arms around the nation. Everyone else is having a pay freeze. 1%, you should be happy with that 1%.
But the 1% offer is the most we think we can afford, which we have put forward to the pay review body. That will be discussed. We will wait for feedback from unions and other health sector stakeholders and see where we move to on this. But the 1% is what the government can afford. It's
what the government can afford. Why is it when it comes to, spending money on Brexit, the government can only afford to spend this amount of money on Brexit? Oh, okay. So we're going to have, a limit on the amount of money we're going to spend on Brexit. When it comes to spending money on, contracts for consultants who earn £1,000 a day, no, that's okay. We need to spend, this amount of money on consultants. And some of them are frigging PR consultants. They're not consultants who are actually improving the NHS or improving, streamlining it or something. No, they're frigging PR consultants who are earning over £1,000 a day. So it's okay to spend money on that, but I'm sorry, we can't spend money on the NHS, on NHS staff. Please, I would like to hear from a Tory supporter after this. Do you still support this? Do you think, stop clapping for a moment and think about how these staff who have saved your life and saved the life of maybe members of your family or relatives or whoever, who have saved or are going to save your life in the future. Because we all get sick at some stage in our life. And we hope that the NHS staff are there for us. We hope that medical staff are going to be ready to step in and stop death from taking over, do you think that they deserve a pay increase? If you say no, then I hope you don't get sick.
What the offer is, and it would be wrong to say that a single person in the government does not appreciate the effort of nurses.
Oh my God. Does this actually wash with anyone? Does anyone actually believe this shit? Does anyone truly believe what she's saying? There's no one in the government who doesn't believe that they don't deserve our admiration or... The NHS needs to... Sorry, I'm... Oh, Doug! Sorry, I get so animated. Sorry, Doug. Thank you so much for the super chat. Is Desmond Swain a C? So says old Max. He's right, of course. He's effing worse. Almost as bad as Doris. Very good. Is Desmond C a C? So says old Max C. He's right, of course. He's effing worse. Almost as bad as Doris. Very nice. Thank you so much for that. I'm always bastardizing the poetry. She's such a liar. If it wasn't for excuse me, if it wasn't for COVID, people would be marching in the streets. Maybe that's the reason why they think they can get away with it. People will not march in the streets because of the pandemic. Desmond Beep. Sorry. Why does the Tories hate the NHS so much? I think it's for... that's an interesting question, Helder. I think it's because for two reasons. First, it was introduced by the Labour Party. And because it was introduced by the Labour Party... She's a nurse herself. No, I don't believe that. So it was introduced by the Labour Party, and that's for one reason, that the Conservatives want to destroy it. Anything brought in by the Labour Party, like devolution in Scotland, they want to destroy devolution because it was introduced by the Labour Party, supported by them. I think the other reason is that it's a demonstration of the state working. Because when people think of the NHS, they think of something that works well. And the Tories don't like the idea of a government body or a public service working well, because they want to privatise everything. So they point to how the trains are not working, we need to sell them off. The airports are not working right, it's too inefficient, it's too old style, we need to sell it off. Everything is about privatizations. Privatize this, privatize that. Water, we can... That's what they sell to the public. They sell the idea that it's inefficient, it doesn't work right, it would be better in private hands. Private companies are more efficient. They're able to benefit from streamlining, things like that. They have, they're more dynamic. Private companies are better at running businesses, and you turn something that serves the public into a business. Water, healthcare, infrastructure in general. Once you privatize it, it's not always the case that it goes down in level, down in quality, but it becomes profit driven. So companies decide to cut costs, and if there isn't a strong government to stop them, they'll do away with any type of regulations or checks and controls. We've seen it here in Italy, how bridges that were owned by private companies collapsed, and it was the reason was that the private companies cut corners when it came to maintenance and things like that. James, thank you so much for that super chat. €50 fine per person in Ireland for no ticket. Wow. Thanks for that. €50. But her saying here that Dr. Shipman was a doctor. At least he wasn't a Tory. How do you know he wasn't a Tory? She might be Anne Wingus in disguise. Max, don't need more coffee. You may disbelieve it, Max, but it's true. Worked as a qualified nurse before going into politics. And then she just decided, my ethics, I'm going to throw them out the window. Now I'm going to become a proper politician. I have no ethics, no morals.
We absolutely do.
But you've been a nurse yourself. I mean, what we're talking about here is an extra £3.50 take home for experienced nurses a week. That isn't enough. What they're saying to us is it seems like an insult.
Well, as John's report said before I came on, nurses have had a 12% increase in pay over the last 3 years. The average nurse's salary is around, quite rightly, 34,000 per annum. But I'm afraid at this moment in time, at the tail end of a pandemic, this time last year, we were just looking in the face of this global pandemic. And we all know what the last year has held and what we've had to go through. And that has been a huge amount of expense on...
But wouldn't it be better, if this is the case, to give them nothing? To say, I'm sorry, we're not... Like, giving them 1%, giving them £3.50 an hour... a week. Not an hour. £3.50 a week extra. Wouldn't it be better to give them nothing? To say, sorry, there's a pay freeze for everyone. Like, from a political point of view... It would make more sense to say, look, we're not giving anyone a pay increase than to give somebody a little pittance, like £3.50 a week. A total insult. Liar, says Artemis. Tory hypocrites, when will they resign? Nurse pay starts at 18,000, so it's not the 34,000 that Nadine says. 7 pence an hour, 7 pence per hour. Nurses do 90% of the work. Doctors get 90% of the pay. The NHS model has been copied all over the world. The NHS model is the best we have. Is it perfect? No, it's not. No, there is no perfect system, but it's the best we have, I think, in the world. But it's been destroyed by this government.
On fighting the pandemic and keeping to our best possible way, as a result of the efforts of NHS staff, people safe. Keeping people safe was our priority.
But put these people on minimum wage. Put politicians on minimum wage. Put Boris Johnson on £18,000 a year. I've said in the past, what should happen is when the economy does well, politicians get a pay increase. When the economy does badly, politicians get a pay decrease. That's the way it should be. What's her wage though? It's actually, I'm not sure, because it's probably £160,000 a year. Average salary is £26,000, not 34,000. But it's okay because she's allowed to lie. She's a politician. She's a member of parliament, so it's okay to lie. Claims 29,100 in expenses. So Nadine Dorris, thank you so much for that, Mary. So Nadine Dorris claimed £29,000. So she claimed more in expenses than the average nurse earns in a year. Just in expenses, not her salary. Okay. Keeping people safe was our priority. Yes. Johnson was complaining about £150,000 a year months ago. Yes. He struggles on £150,000 a year. The average wage neglecting in London. Yeah, and like, even if it's a £24,000 a year in London, like over half of your money is gone in rent. If you're a politician, you can claim expenses for a flat in London. If you have to live in London, then you can claim that back as an expense, and it doesn't affect your salary. You're still on your £160,000 a year. So if I became an MP, can I claim a Ferrari? Well, using the right mechanisms, yes. If you can get yourself a good accountant, NIMEB, yes, you can.
Now protecting livelihoods and people's futures, jobs, businesses. making sure people can stay in employment, extending the furlough scheme. Those have to be our priorities now. It has to be about protecting people and livelihoods.
So, sorry, NHS, we're not about protecting the NHS any longer. The NHS has served its purpose. Now, go frig yourself. We care more about the furlough scheme. We care about businesses. Back to business again. You know, how quickly the NHS were used and forgotten. You heard it here. She says, can I claim a Nick Ferrari? You know, it's served its purpose. We got through the pandemic. Now we forget about the NHS. We give them a pittance. As I said before, it would actually be better politically to give them nothing than to give them this, £3.50 a week. You know, if they, I'm not supporting it whatsoever, but if they had come out and said, we're having a pay freeze across the board, no one's getting any more money because of the pandemic or whatever, it'd still be horrible, but I think it'd be better in a sense than giving somebody an extra £3.50. You know, would that cover their parking? Probably not.
Now that we've saved lives.
So hand on heart, can you look at NHS workers?
No, you can't ask her that. What's wrong with this journalist? Hand on heart, she doesn't have a heart. How can you put your hand on your heart if you don't have one?
In the face and say, you know, you are not our priority at this moment in time, because that seems to be what you're saying.
No, because that's not true.
No, what I said before is not true. I basically went from, would these people have served their purpose? We don't care about them anymore. And it's like, oh, that's when you said these people, you don't care about these people anymore. No, that's not true.
I said no other public sector employee is receiving any pay rise. There has been a pay freeze. The NHS workers are going to receive a pay rise.
Yes, a pay rise of £3.50 a week. Really, please, somebody defend this. Please, somebody come on the stream if you can and defend this. Because if this is defence, I'd hate to see what... I don't even know where I'm going to go with that. Please, somebody, because she's doing a shit job here. Max, it's half time. You need a break. Getting depressed, yes. I didn't actually mean to do this as a stream, but I will come to a break in a moment. Let's move on from this. It says here, anger grows at offer of 1% pay rise for NHS staff, nurse leaders set up industrial action fund as Tory MPs fear another U-turn by government. So the Tory MPs are worried about a U-turn, not about us looking bad and us being heartless and us being scum. No, we're worried about oh damn, you know, there's going to be pressure put on us and we'll have to do a U-turn and then give them the, you know, maybe we need Marcus Rashford once again, Super Mark, to come along and help the NHS staff. Who the fuck is Nigel Farage? Where the fuck is Nigel Farage? Sorry. Cut MP salaries and reform the Lords to pay for public services. Jacobin. I love the name. Fantastic. Welcome to the stream. I agree. Thank you so much for the super chat. Yes, I agree 100%. Cut MP salaries. Put them on a medium wage. Not minimum wage, but medium wage. I don't know what the medium wage in the UK is. Maybe it's about £25,000 or £30,000 a year. I don't know. But if that's it, put MPs on that so they can understand what it's like. What it's like to, you know, struggle sometimes to pay bills. Or even they'll know what it's like to pay bills. Most of them probably have never paid a bill in their life because daddy has come along and bailed them out. They've never had to worry whether they can, you know, should I buy food this week? Will I have to pay my rent? Can I cut some corners on the costs? None of these have ever had this problem. Farage is in the garage. You know, Nigel Farage claims that he cares about people. He cares about Britain. Where is he now? on the beach probably, looking for dinghies. Ministers are on collision course with millions of NHS staff as they insist the country could not afford to pay more than 1% pay rise to health workers, even as nurses raised the prospect of strike action. Yes, I would support these, and I think everyone should support the NHS staff if they go on strike. The Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, on Friday insisted the decision to recommend such a small increase was due to an assessment of what's affordable to as a nation. Does anyone actually believe this any longer? What's affordable? So spending hundreds of millions of pounds on Brexit propaganda, that was affordable. Spending £37 billion on a track and trace system that doesn't work is affordable. But paying these people an extra 1% is not affordable. Love it, Michelle. Love it when you swear, Max. Go on another one because it makes me feel better. Thank you very much for that. But it really pisses me off because these are ordinary people putting their lives on the line. You know, I have huge respect for nursing staff, for medical staff in general, because it's something I know I would not be able to do. I wouldn't have the guts. I'm not talking about squeamish. It's just the fact that being around people who are close to death or whose lives are in your hands. You know, I mess up all the time. You know, if I'm doing the stream, I forget something, or I click the wrong button, or, you know, and the consequences of that are trivial. Medical staff, if they mess up, someone will die. Someone could die. Someone could become seriously ill. The stress that they go through, the responsibility that they have, is not reflected in the pay that they receive. I remember growing up in Ireland, we're always in the news talking about, the healthcare system is struggling because we can't get enough staff, or the nurses would go on strike because they weren't getting enough money. And I didn't really understand it at the time, and now I do. These people are extremely important. They're probably the most important people in society, much more important than frigging politicians who are paid extraordinary amounts of money. These people are important, not the politicians, not business leaders, the people who are on the front line saving lives on a daily basis. Those are the people who are important. Don't barrage the Farage, Max. He is easy material. Thanks very much, Ira. I'd love a general strike. This could bring down Boris Johnson's government. If there's enough pressure put on politicians in Parliament, if there's enough pressure put on, there has to be coordinated pressure. It has to be within Parliament and it has to be outside Parliament. Unfortunately, we're past Prime Minister's questions, but Keir Starmer and Ian Blackford and other MPs should be piling the pressure on the government now. Why are you throwing these people under a bus? Why are you treating them with such disrespect? Why aren't you looking after them? How do you expect Claps to pay bills? You're on £150,000 a year and you're complaining about it. How are these people supposed to survive? How are these people supposed to pay their bills? They're putting their lives on the line. You're not. You're sitting in your frigging redecorated flat. My blood pressure is rising. But it's because I'm pissed off about this. Because this is extremely important. This is more important than Brexit. This is more important than trade. This is more important than business. This is more important than anything else. These people are the most important people in the country. And it makes me sad and angry that they're being treated like crap by the government, and that the other side of this is that the NHS has been slowly whittled away. It's been sold off bit by bit. Nurses rarely go on strike because they care about the patients so much. Right-wing governments always prey on the fact. Happened in Ireland too. Yeah. You have the right-wing media who will come out and say, and unfortunately, I have it right here. From the Daily Express, the pro-Tory, pro-Brexit, but pro-Tory newspaper, the Daily Express, says Matt Hancock fights back against union bullies as NHS pay rise spat risks strike action. See the words here, the weasel words, union bullies. Dan Falvey. Fuck you, Dan Falvey. You're a piece of shit. That's what you are. I'm sorry for my language tonight, guys, but I can't hold it back. Because these people, Dan Falvey, or whoever the hell he is, I don't know if that's his real name, writing for the Express, attacking these people because they want to be treated with respect. Claps once again. I don't know how much money does Dan Falvey get for writing this crap. Goes on to say the Royal College of Nursing has said it's supporting industrial action after 1% pay rise for the NHS nurses was proposed. The union described the increase as pitiful and demanded the figure be up to 12.5%. It has been agreed to set up a £35 million industrial action fund to support members for loss of income during a strike. Unite, which represents tens of thousands of NHS workers, is also warning of industrial action. But speaking at a televised coronavirus briefing tonight, the Health Secretary called on NHS workers to refuse to entertain the union's threats. He said, what I'd like to say to every nurse who's watching and everybody who has hard work to do, who has worked so hard, we have over this pandemic pulled together in an incredible way. I really hope that we can continue doing this, both to deliver the patients and also the support for our NHS, and to welcome many, many more nurses into the NHS in the years ahead. It doesn't actually say what he said. This is the problem also with these newspapers, is that they won't actually say where he said. He just said pull together. Let's see what he actually said. I don't know if he actually says it here.
The challenge is that the nation's finances are tight, and whilst everybody else in the public sector is going to have a pay freeze, we are able to give to propose a pay rise for nurses at 1%. I entirely appreciate that reflects the difficult financial circumstances that the country is in. But what I'd say to every nurse who's watching and everybody who has worked so hard is we have, over this pandemic, pulled together in an incredible way. And I really hope that we can continue doing that, both to deliver for patients and also to support our NHS.
So using the threat, we have to look after our patients. And as Stephen said, thanks for that, Stephen, the right-wing press will say, how dare they threaten patients? How dare they threaten the state? How dare they do this? They should be thankful for the money that they receive. And then, of course, you're going to hear stories in the right-wing press about how, these nurses, spend money on handbags, and they spend their money on luxury cars, and they spend their money on holidays and things like that. That's what you're going to see coming. If there's going to be industrial action, I can guarantee you 100%, guarantee you anything, that you're going to see the Daily Express or the Daily Mail publishing stories about nurses going on holidays and nurses living a life of luxury in order to convince the public that their demands are not deserving. Mark Sanders, thank you so much for that super chat. Excuse for MPs' high salary. Must give MPs high rates of pay, otherwise it will lead to the House of Millionaires. Yeah, it's full of millionaires. Another response is always, if we don't pay politicians enough, they become corrupt. Yes, how's that working out? Smash the button, guys. Yes, revolution. it's very important that industrial action does take place. I think it needs to take place. And I think it's important that the public are behind. The Labour Party need to organise for the NHS in Parliament, and there needs to be an organisation outside Parliament. It has to be either on social media or in small groups or something, but there has to be a two-pronged approach. That's the way it will work. The MPs in the Labour Party need to be banging their fist on a daily basis, because, and I don't mean this in a cynical way, but if the Labour Party pressure the government into increasing this pay to a satisfactory level for the NHS staff, they can claim it as a victory. We fought for the NHS, and they could run with that as a political manifesto, as part of their manifesto going forward. Look, we have, in the same way as Bernie Sanders in the United States has fought for a $15 minimum wage, has helped thousands, hundreds of thousands of Amazon staff. He took on Amazon, he took on these large companies, and he got better conditions for them. That's what the Labour Party should be doing now. Combining efforts outside Parliament, combining efforts in Parliament, pushing forward, calling them scum if necessary. Call these people scum if necessary. The Rogue War Gaming says, my sister, thanks so much for that super chat. My sister was in Belfast trying to get a college course, and what you said in your unionist GFA wasn't wrong. I'm not sure what I don't remember what I said about that. But I'm concerned about what's happening in Northern Ireland. But I think the vast majority of people within the unionist community would like just to get on with their lives. But it's the DUP and the hard right in the unionist community who want a border on the island of Ireland.